So I hope y'all are doing well today. I am doing a small pour on an 8x10 first, and it's going to be a dirty pour. And I've got some colors that I already had used from another pour, so I'm just lining them up to show you the different colors, what they are. This one I had not had any OGX added to it, so that was the last color I needed to add OGX to. So it's just a drop. OGX is coconut milk anti-breakage hair serum that has dimethicone in it. I had swiped another canvas with that bright lime yellow green, so I had not added OGX to that cup of color. And it's just one drop per cup of color. The first one is SeaBreeze, which is the pale mint green. That one is sour apple, and I added a little bit of yellow and white to it to make it a little bit brighter and more yellowish. This one is the Evergreen with Phthalo Green Blue and Phthalo Turquoise added to it. That cup is Festive Green. This one is Peacock Teal with some green added to it. This one is True Blue. All DecoArt colors. This last one is Prussian Blue plus Phthalo Turquoise. Everything is 1:1 ratio with Owatrol Easy Flow, which is a European company. It's like Floetrol in America. You can get it from owatrolusa.com or from Amazon. So they're mixed 1:1, and no water is needed for the bottle paints, but if you use the premium tube paints, you do have to add a little bit of water. So you stir those up, and then you add a drop of OGX coconut milk anti-breakage serum to each color. And I'm just pouring all the different colors into a 3-ounce bathroom cup. I wanted this pour to be just, blues and greens. They always work well together. You can be assured there won't be any mud. So I just flipped the cup over. I didn't even turn the canvas over on it. I just did a quick flip. Here I'm just going to heat it just to remove bubbles, air bubbles, and it brings out a few little cells, but most of the time when you use OGX, it will just grow naturally by itself if you just are patient with it. But I am not even really going to wait on this one. I'm adjusting a push pin out a little bit so that my canvas does not rock. You want a very flat, level canvas, and I noticed there was some give in the canvas. Just making sure it's level. So I guess I'm going to wait a few minutes on this. I did not have my microphone turned on, so I had discovered that didn't have the mic on. So I have to do the voiceover on this video as well. I went through a series of paintings where I had my mic on my hip, but I had forgotten to turn it on where it was attached to the camera. So I have those days where I just have human error, and therefore I have to use the voiceover. And I quite liked the dried effect of this one, which you will see at the end of my video. At the end of all of my videos, I always post the dried results so that you can see what it looks like. And it's actually going to be a really pretty background maybe for painting a fish on it. So So I did let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes and tilting it here. A lot of times I will use my hand kind of like a dam on the side. You kind of use it like a bracket on the corners or sides, and you can kind of control the paint from dripping off a little bit. So I decided to put a few of the colors, just little drips, into the cup again because I have that big chunk of blue there on the upper portion that I just felt like was too much. So I always say you don't have to keep or live with the original pour. If there's something you don't care for, you can always manipulate and change it. And sometimes if I add something, I will use my straw to just soften the edges to take away any harsh lines that look like it's been intentionally added. So here it is. Kind of reminds me of a land and sea kind of thing. So now I'm just going to take what's left over of all those colors and do a dirty pour again. This time I layered the colors a little bit more, for the most part on the upper layers. where they lay on top of each other instead of sinking in. But now I'm going to let that one sink in a little bit again. But you can either pour straight down into it where it sinks into the color, or you can kind of lay your colors on top of each other. That's when I call it more of a gradient pour, where it's layers of color. So here I am using a 8 or 9 inch cradled board that's only about a 1/4 of an inch to maybe a 1/2 inch deep. It's got a little bit of a framed edge underneath. It came from Michael's or Hobby Lobby in the craft section. I didn't prime it. I have poured on wooden circles that are like an inch thick to do Lazy Susans, and those will warp when you put paint on them. And then you just have to keep working with wetting the surface on the underside and letting it flatten back out. But with this kind of board, with it having a little bit of a frame built in underneath to keep it fairly substantial, it does not warp. So that is a nice factor. And I'm doing the tree ring style pour here. And obviously my paint all the colors have silicone or OGX in them, so there's going to be cells. So you're not going to get a true tree ring effect because there are going to be cells that pop out. So if you want a true tree ring effect that's very defined tree rings, then you obviously need to leave the OGX out of the paint colors. So I'm just going to tilt a little bit here to get it kind of centered back. And I'm going to heat it just to pop any air bubbles. It's not really to bring out more cells, it's just to get rid of the air bubbles that might be in it. And I'm taking some of my extra green paint and just adding it to the corners. And basically that just helps the paint flow better. Once I start tilting it, it'll help the paint flow over this area. When you have a wet layer, it just glides smoother, and I wanted to get rid of some of that green paint too. And I also take it around to the sides of the board just to cover the edges, and that just makes it all easier when you tilt your board there and you let the paint flow over. It'll just cover up that area that I'm already putting on with my fingers, but it'll just help it cover it a little bit better than just having raw wood on the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to tilt. And I pay more attention to my composition as I tilt to get it to where it's pleasing to my eye, more so than worrying about the corners. You can always manipulate your corners a little bit if you need to. But I really like how the blue popped out because the green was very strong at first. And there was something I didn't like about the center of that. I'm not sure what it was. So I stuck my finger in it, and then I just take a straw and blow just to make it look more natural. So it's finished, and here it is. I really love the striation of the lines there with the blues and greens. especially on the outskirts. So I'm pretty pleased with this one. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I enjoy doing these for you. It takes a lot of time and money, but if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Look down below the video. There's links to Amazon and PayPal, Patreon, my Facebook group, all kinds of things. So take a look, and if you are a subscriber, click on the bell in the bottom right. There'll be a little uh, paragraph, not exclamation, there'll be little parentheses around the bell. Thank you so much. You'll get notifications.